This is the Get Sellers Calling You Marketing podcast for real estate agents, and I'm Beatty Carmichael. To learn how to generate more listings from past clients in sphere of influence, geographic farming, and commercial investment property, visit our website at getsellerscallingyou.com. And now let's begin our next session of Get Sellers Calling You.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm so glad you've joined us. For those of you who don't remember me, my name is Penny, and welcome. Welcome to this next session of Get Sellers Calling You with Beatty Carmichael. Beatty is the CEO of Master Grabber, the creator of Agent Dominator, and one of the top marketing experts in the real estate field. Beatty, I'm super excited. I know you always have something great for us today. What are we going to be discussing today?
Well, Penny, today we've got a really exciting call because this is going to be something a little bit different, as it seems like I'm always trying to do. I'm going to share the audio of a call I recently did with a friend and a very successful real estate agent client of ours named Stuart Sutton. And just kind of set the stage. You know, right now we're going through just some terrible times with the coronavirus. States are locking down. We're shelter at home. Non-essential businesses are being forced shut, and in some of those states they consider real estate non-essential. We're headed into a recession. We have millions of people unemployed, and this is where we find ourselves in the real estate world. The question is, what do we do and how do you manage on it? And the reason I did this special call with Stuart is in talking with Stuart, Stuart's been through every financial crisis in the last 40 years. He's a 40-plus year veteran, whether it's the 1986 crisis, the dot-com boom, and then bust, okay, or the meltdown in 2008 and now the coronavirus. One of the things that's been real interesting is every time Stuart entered one of these crises, he earned more money. And as he exited the crisis, he earned even more money, okay? And while other real estate agents are going out of business, Stuart's income continues to grow. And I was asking him how. I wanted to do a call, so we did a call recently, and that's what I want to share. But real quickly before I introduce the call to you, I want to share one other thing. One of the things that he focuses on, you'll hear this right up front, is that he increases his marketing for listings. This is the thing that's always impressed me. Whenever Stuart wants more listings, he simply increases his marketing for it. Most people don't understand how do you market for listings. One of the things that we did many years back, Stuart was actually one of our very first clients, and working with Stuart, we developed, using his guidance and then have really taken it beyond from that point, a very consistent pattern on how do you market for listings. Its focus is both in geographic farming to generate listings and in your personal contacts, your past clients and sphere of influence. We've even expanded into commercial investment property and are just now moving the same process into property management. But where I want to go on this is as you're listening to this call, and if you don't have a way to market for listings, let me encourage you to check out what we do because it's a very proven, consistent model. And as you move into these crisis times, then you can follow the pattern that Stuart's done and not only stay in business, but earn more money. And if you do have interest on that, just visit our website at agentdominator.com, agentdominator.com. And you'll see it's geared it's really, on the website, it's geared for residential, you know, geographic and past client sphere of influence. If you do have interest on the commercial side, just make a note of that if you fill out the form, and we'll follow up with you on that. But anyway, with that, Penny, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to bring on the recording of this conference call I recently did with Stuart. It's really fascinating. Welcome, everyone. Right now we have an open call, so you'll hear the beeps coming in. And this is Beatty Carmichael, the voice you're hearing, and also with me is Stuart Sutton. And this is going to be just a really great call. And I'm so glad that you guys who are joining in. We are going to be recording this and be putting it out as a podcast, so if you want to listen to it in more completeness later, you'll have that opportunity really soon. But with all of the challenges going on right now, in this nation that we're experiencing, and especially how it impacts our business in the real estate world. I reached out to my friend Stuart, who is just an amazing realtor in terms of consistent production regardless of the environment. And I thought everyone could learn a lot and be encouraged a lot. So real quickly, just if you would, we're still a few minutes before starting, so this is not an official start time yet. But I'd love just to, if you would just announce who you are and just what city and state you're in.
Harry Lockhart.
All right.
Terry Padelling, Stone Mountain.
All right. Welcome.
Hi, Peggy Kim from St. Charles, Illinois.
Hey. All right. Who else is out there?
Zelda Greenberg, Ponte Vedra, Florida.
Welcome.
Ken Gandy, Naples, Florida.
Hello,
Dave
Ken.
Armack.
As you're joining in, just tell us who you are and where you're from.
John
Lisa Thompson.
John, welcome. And let's see, the lady there, welcome. I missed the name, but welcome to the call.
Lisa Thompson from Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay. Welcome from Charleston.
Candy and San Diego.
Hey, Candy.
Hi.
This is Ben Hansen, Centralia, Washington.
Welcome. Hey, you can pour me some Java too, whoever's pouring that. We'll shut the mic down in just a moment and get the background noises out. But as you're joining in, just tell us who you are and where you're calling from.
Justin Wisner, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Hey, Justin. All right. Anyone else want to say hello before we're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to shut the mic down. Anyone else want to say hello before I shut down the mic? Okay, now let me figure out how to, let's see, mute all. Okay, hold one moment.
Everyone else is now muted.
Okay, great. So I've got the backgrounds down, and so I wanted to just kind of officially start this call off and introduce my friend Stuart to you. So the purpose of this call is we're all going through some really difficult times right now with the coronavirus and kind of what's happening and shutting everything down. Hold on, I want to see if I can turn these chimes off just one moment.
Entry and exit chimes are now off.
Okay, perfect. And you know, the question is, how do we respond? How do you grow your business? I was talking to Stuart. In fact, Stuart, I have to tell you the reason I reached out to you. We've had several clients saying, hey, you know, y'all going to do any of those mastermind calls again? This would be a good time. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, let's do that because Stuart and I did some mastermind calls a number of years back for about 1.5 years or 2 years and just learned a lot. But for those who don't know Stuart, Stuart, you've been selling real estate for almost 40 years now. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Well, it sure does sound like a long time when you say it.
Well, hey, you know, when you start at 15 years old, then, you know,
right.
Anything can take a long time.
That's right.
And the neat thing with Stuart is Stuart's gone through, Stuart, what are all the crises you've hit? What are the ones you remember?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. When I started in the real estate industry, interest rates were 18%. So basically nobody could buy a house with a new mortgage. The market crashed in '86, if anybody remembers that, where RTC pretty much took over, you know, a bulk of the properties in the country. Then the dot-com bust, of course, was pretty nasty. Everybody remembers that. And then '08, of course. And then there's been some others that weren't as magnified, but really had a tremendous impact. The Gulf War, when the first one started, there was great concern. You know, and then, of course, the most recent one that we're involved in currently, which is quite interesting. It's unlike anything we've experienced.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier today, and you made a startling comment for me of what happened with your income. in each of those. Can you just share real quickly entry and exiting each of those areas?
Yeah, and this is a little hard to get your arms around, but I believe the reason behind this has to do a lot with not a real exciting word, but it to me is a word that's paramount to my business, and that is consistency. The most money I've made in given years through my career have been going into and coming out of a crisis like this. And I can give you kind of a reasoning and a background like that as we go, or I can give you a summary if that's what you prefer.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you give us a quick summary right now, and then what I may do is, and then we'll just dig into it. Because what I like to do is I like to kind of peel back the onion a little bit with what I'll call the low-hanging fruit, things that people can really take away from this call and start applying in their business now, and most importantly, make sure they apply in their business long term so they can weather anything like this in the future.
All right. So in the best way I can think of to put it is very simply that if you're prepared, and I don't mean like make all these special preparations and do all this significant stuff that you've never been before, if you're prepared with the way you do business, entering into a situation like this is not going to level you out or take away your income and your livelihood. And here's what I mean by that. Let's just take the 2008 debacle as an example. So when 2008 came around, one of the things that happened just before 2008 was the market was moving along very, very well. And our listings were selling just as fast as they possibly could. Well, when 2008 hit, things changed dramatically. So we kept doing what we were doing. And so just before 2008, I was carrying a listing inventory. And after 2008, within a few months, my listing inventory was 2-3 times that. And as time went by, 5 times that. So what we had to do, and what we've always done, is assess where we are compared to the market. So it's very important that you know your market. So if the turnover ratio, and I'm just going to use one ratio, I'm not going to get into a lot of subtleties and muddle this up, but if your market sees 1 in 10 listings on the market close every month, then that means if you have 10 listings, you'll have 1 close. Well, if you have to pay all your bills with 2 closings, then you need 20 listings. If you have a budget that requires 3 closings, then you need 3 transactions. So we've always simply adapted to what the market was doing based on turnover ratio. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Let's continue to talk about the 2008 thing. So when that hit, we just kept marketing. Our listing inventory built, and I'm talking about me and 1 assistant. All right, me and 1 assistant. I was carrying 50, 60, at one time even 70 listings. But guess what was happening? The turnover ratio was selling a portion of those every single month and keeping me with the income that I needed and was used to and had set goals for. So if you remember when things started getting better, your market may be different than mine, but ours was 12. It was the last year where things were sort of even. In 13, they started up. Okay, I remember within a few months period, my listing inventory went from over 60 listings to less than 20. So what do you think happened during those few months? Well, demand started changing. Interest rates were falling. People were realizing, hey, this crisis isn't a crisis anymore. And that year was a very, very strong year for us. The same thing happened in the dot-com bust in the early 2000s. We saw prices drop within 2 months to where sellers could not even get close to what they thought they could get anymore. So our inventory built, and then when the market improved, we had dramatic sales months. And I think the same thing's going to happen now. What I mean by that is my listing inventory already in 1 month is double what it typically is. I believe that in 2 months to 3 months, it will double again. So when this crisis is over, guess what's going to happen? I truly believe, and I'm not a prognosticator by any means, but I truly believe the pin-up demand after this eases up is going to come out. And we're going to see most of the homes that we put on the market that are good value, good, well-priced, and show well that, they're going to sell. So that's kind of a summary. Does that make sense, Beatty?
It does. Let me repeat it because it seems, I want to use the word so brilliantly simple, I think it's easy to miss. You made a comment. You keep marketing and marketing and marketing. Let me see if I net this out. The turnover rate of how many listings in a given month actually sell. Then you back into it. How many listings do you need to have in inventory to sell that will cover your nut? And you just keep marketing until you get that number of listings. So now you've built up a listing inventory that keeps you cash flowing. And I want to make an assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong. When you keep marketing for listings in these crisis times, I'm assuming that you're probably experiencing your competitors have stopped marketing for listings by and large. Is that, am I making it, I'm kind of extrapolating, but is that behind the scenes assumption maybe?
That's a very reasonable assumption and an accurate one. So going into a crisis, if you remain consistent, and I actually increased my budget a little bit because what has to happen during a down market, during a downturn, is I have to have more listings in order to cover my expenses. And my expenses, by the way, are extraordinarily low for someone who does the volume I do, and that's just experience to a great degree. So going into a crisis, I build my inventory. And what happens is those people that might not have called me keep getting my stuff. And even though the market's not what it was, people still have to sell. There are certain circumstances where people have no choice. They still need to sell. So in a current situation like this where they may not want to sell right now, but they know they have to sell, I have quite a few listings right now signed that aren't on the market, but will be as soon as the seller and myself feel it's a comfortable time to go back in the market. So going into a crisis, my listing inventory builds. Coming out of a crisis, all those listings sell. So
wow.
I do quite well on both ends of that. And that's not that's not a hey, let's find out how we can get rich quick. That's the last thing it is. It's really a consistency provides an opportunity no matter what. And you're not taking advantage of anything. What you're doing is being prepared in advance for whether the market goes up or down. If it stays consistent, guess what? You stay consistent.
That's brilliant. It seems so simple. And I just want to repeat it because I'm over here kind of grasping and going, is that it? It's like it seems like you increase your marketing for listings while everyone is pulling out of their marketing for listings. So now your marketing is more effective. You're getting, I would think, you're getting a higher response rate in generating listings because you're one of fewer people doing it. So now your listings are growing, which keeps your cash flow consistent. You're building up this huge pipeline of listings, and then when the dam breaks, now it all cashes out.
Yeah, and I remember coming out of the 08, I believe it was April of about 12, we sold, we put, and remember this is me and an assistant, we put 31 homes under contract in 1 month because the pin-up demand came out. And we had a large listing inventory. If I had, plodded along and not been consistent and not adapted to the market, in other words, if I hadn't paid attention to the turnover ratio and done what I needed to, then I'd have done okay. But you know how many agents, Beatty, that I heard wander, and even in this market, well, I've never been without listings before. They'll say, I've got one listing. I usually carry 6 or 8, or I usually carry 20. I've got 2. Well, that doesn't happen to me. The reason it doesn't happen to me is because of the consistency and the actually extra little push. I always put a little push, for example, in the fall when other people back off. So I try to be a little bit of a contrarian as far as the timing is concerned, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I know that in the farm...
And we also...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, we also increased something else. And this is... a lot of people have a hard time believing. I've really had people look me in the eye and go, Really, Stuart? 60 listings? Are you serious? And the answer is yes. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So if I'm going to work Monday through Friday, and I might have worked a little more than that back then, but really not much more because I had 2 little kids. So here's what happened. On Monday, 12 people heard from me who were listed with me. So let's take 60 divided by 5. On Tuesday, 12 people heard from me who listed with me. So I basically took and increased our level of service to a higher point, because a lot of agents aren't used to having a listing for 2 months or 4 months or 12 months. But that's sometimes inevitable depending on the scenario. So if you don't want sellers getting upset with you and moving on to the next agent, you have to ramp up that service. So the adaptation is increase marketing for listing, increase service for those who do list. And that's simply an organization issue and a timing issue, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, I remember a few years back, I was asking you about your business, and just to put things in perspective for everyone on the call, when you and I met, it was late 2012, so we're just coming out of, or about to come out of the 08 recession. Or the recession caused by that. And you were doing like 120 transactions a year, 35 hours a week effort. And we started to talk about your business. This was about a year later, going through the recession period. And you pulled up your numbers, and every year your numbers were not only consistent, but you increased the number of sales you transacted every year. While other agents were going out of business and collapsing, your business was growing. And I just thought that was brilliant. And now it just seems like it's so easy. You just increase marketing for listings.
Well, it's maybe easier said than done, but again, it's how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So I don't take that, and I've never really taken that, hey, I've got to get these 6,000 mailings out over the next 60 days.
Right.
We piecemeal it. We send a few here. We send a few there. We monitor. We follow up. And I've been, as you know, I've been one of those teams with listing agents and buyers agents and staff and runners and marketing agents and did hundreds of sales a year. And I really and truly enjoy what I do now, because I have, first of all, I couldn't do it without an incredible assistant. She is phenomenal. But the relationships I build with clients are very, very different than when I had a big team. And one thing you said was very accurate, but memory probably allowed it to slip a little bit. My number of transactions during that time didn't keep going up. They actually started going down, but that was on purpose. My income kept going up.
That's what it was, yes, your income.
What I realized was that with one assistant, I could keep doing those 100-plus transactions a year, or I could move them down. And there's 3 ways to increase your income in this business. I mean, it's very obvious. More sales, higher commissions, or more transactions per client. So I basically managed my business in a way that most of my clients are multiple transaction clients at this point. So they're much easier to deal with. It's a much easier transaction. There's a great more deal of trust. So I do about half the transactions, not quite half, but nearly half the transactions I did in 12 but my income is higher than it was in 12. Does that make sense?
That does. I want to get people to start asking some questions. I wanted to, for those interested, I'm pulling up a Join Me account, and I just want to direct you where to go, and you can type your questions in, and I'll read them out for Stuart. But if you go to Join...
Everyone else is now unmuted.
Oops. Hold on one second. Oh, we're going to have a really loud call. Give me just one moment. I just pulled this up. Let's see, how do I mute people? Here we go. Well, actually, we're going to say these online.
The conference is now in question and answer mode.
Okay. Stuart, is it okay if I let people start asking you questions? Because I think this is a brilliant spot that probably a lot of questions for a little bit bigger beat.
Of course, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So I've got everyone soft muted right now. If you have a question for Stuart, and you want to kind of inquire a little bit more, press *6 on your phone, and it'll unmute your line. And just a little bit of protocol real quickly. Press *6 and announce yourself, and just we'll just take any questions as they come along and let you mute yourself back after you've asked your question. Any questions out there real quickly before we just continue in a monologue?
Wanda.
Okay, Wanda, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Wanda Hart. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I missed the other two things that you mentioned, Stuart, as to 3 ways to increase the income. I did get the multiple transaction of clients. That is my strong suit, and I love it. But what were the other 2?
Oh, good question. And by the way, I love Minnesota. It's I've got a friend that just moved up there to get married. Beautiful part of the country. So the 3 ways to increase your income in this business are, as you and I both agree on strongly, and that's multiple transactions per client. And I've got 2 different ways that I do that. Another one, the most obvious, is make more sales. And then the third one is higher commission per sale. So just to kind of follow, you bet, just to kind of follow that path, I purposely increased my average sale price over the last 6 years rather dramatically. And that was from poignant, focused, and pertinent marketing to a targeted database of people. So the multiple transactions per client have to do with 2 things. I chose a niche and started working with a niche where the result is typically 2 moves. I deal with listings where the seller is usually going to sell that and buy another house more often than the typical real estate market transaction. And your area will be different than mine. But the bulk of my business is people who move from acreage into a subdivision or from subdivision to acreage. So I have 2 transactions in a very high percentage of my clients. And the other is investing. I teach my clients who want to learn how to invest. And I'll give an example. This month alone, I have sold 4 investment properties to clients who are really scarily trusting. And what I mean by that is, well, what do you think, Stuart? You just go right ahead. Yeah, that's fine. We don't care, Stuart. Go right ahead. So you really have to cover yourself and make sure that all the information and pertinent documents are taken care of as far as that particular transaction is concerned. So I teach my clients to invest, and a lot of my clients go invest, and then I work a market where many of them will sell their acreage, move into a subdivision because their kids are grown. And some of them are multiple. I just sold one investment house I sold this week was to a guy who moved out of a subdivision with his family, bought acreage, then they sold their acreage, moved back into a subdivision, and then started buying investment property from me, and that's his 3rd one. So, those are just the best kind.
The other thing I want to make an observation, and I've seen this from you throughout our entire relationship, Stuart, but you made a comment sharing with, I think it was Karen. Was it Karen or Wanda? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Wanda.
Wanda. Okay.
It was Wanda.
Yeah, it was Wanda. And it was, you made a deliberate decision to increase the sales price, and you started marketing that direction. And I think what happens a lot of times with a lot of agents is they just try to do anything, anywhere. But you've always been very deliberate, Stuart, with everything you do. And maybe if you just, if there's anything to touch on with that, but I just thought that was an interesting observation. You don't react.
Well,
you make it happen where you want it to happen.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with experience, but also has to do with, I think, awareness. I mean, one of my favorite sayings is truly that, the difference between an agent who makes $1 million and an agent who makes $50,000 is not always passion. It's not always determination. It's not always will. It's not always work ethic. A lot of times it's awareness. Are you aware of the steps you need to take? Now, here's the scary part. When you're aware of the steps you need to take, now are you willing to do them? And that's where the rubber meets the road. But awareness is huge. And one of the best things I ever did, truly, was learn to market. And I'm not being derogatory by any means. This is just an observation. I know lots of insurance agents. You probably do too. Very few of them really know how to market their business. Most real estate agents claim to market. They really don't know how to market their business. And as you remember, one of the reasons I picked up the phone and called you in 2012 was because, and I think everybody on this phone can probably agree, man, I don't know who told everybody else or put real estate agents on a targeted list, but hey, real estate agents will buy anything. Just start marketing to them. I mean, there's so much stuff out there. It's unbelievable what they're trying to sell us. But the reason I called you was because when I got a marketing piece from you, I read it and I said, this person knows marketing. This isn't some fluff piece or some good-looking piece or some focused on them piece. This is a marketing piece. And the difference, if you're aware, is astounding. And making the decision to market to a particular group, you can do that whoever they are. It really does not matter. Your price range doesn't matter. Your market doesn't matter. Bottom line is that if you understand the rules of marketing and consumer response, you can pretty much turn your faucet up, turn your faucet down. And I use that analogy simply because that's what marketing is. If I want to make more money next year, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn my marketing faucet up. If I, want to take more time off, and you know this, Beatty, but my wife had breast cancer about a year and a half ago, and she's doing very well. But I turned my marketing faucet down, and I didn't quit doing business totally, but I turned my marketing faucet down so I could spend the time, with her. And that's the beauty of real estate. That's the beauty of marketing. That's just why this business is such an incredible business to be in.
Yes, it is. Let's go with another question. If anyone else has out there, just say hello. You can press *6 on your phone. Any other questions before we...
Hey.
Yes.
This is Ben Hansen in Centralia, Washington. I've been a realtor about 5 years, and I'm doing a little better each year. I'm kind of, I guess you'd say I'm in the top 25-ish in our county. It's a small county, kind of rural neighborhood. Just wondered what advice you might give to somebody at my stage. Got a bunch of kids at home. I'm sole provider for my home. I've actually got 6 children at home, so I'm trying to balance work life and paying the bills. But looking for just any insight you might give to somebody who's at year 5, doing pretty well, doing about 25 to 30 transactions a year, and that's pretty good in our area. The top producer's doing 90, I think, and there's the next person under them's like 60. I want to get closer to 50, but so I just any input, anything. I know it's kind of open-ended, but anything you might have to say.
No worries. That well, bless you, by the way. 6 kids, you've got your hands full, but I bet Christmases are a blast, aren't they?
Oh yeah, lots of fun.
And I tell you, there's another. I'm in Texas, you guys. I'll admit it's not the most beautiful state. We love Central Texas, but I'm in Washington. What a gem! That is so gorgeous up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know what? First of all, 5 years and 6 kids and sole provider. That's absolutely phenomenal. I'll share something personal with you, and my wife tells me, hey, quit preaching at people. But sometimes I just have to share stuff, and you're probably already ahead of this. But you know what? When my first son was born, I started taking all day Thursday off, and gave my wife the entire day off. And the bond and the time, and I understand quality time, but quantity time is huge as well. And here's what's interesting. I would put on my voicemail, this is Thursday. It's the day with my family. So if you need me immediately, my assistant will know how to get a hold of me. But if not, I'd be happy to talk to you tomorrow. People would leave voicemails that say, don't you dare call me back today. Or, hey, good for you for putting your family first. We'll talk to you tomorrow. I guarantee it never cost me a deal. And I think it probably enhanced my business with people who knew the position that I was taking with my family. Okay? So the next thing that I would say from a business perspective is very simply this, and that is truly learn and understand marketing. And you said it's open-ended, but if you truly become a student of and learn marketing, those people in your sphere who are going to refer you business because they like you, care about you, want to see you succeed, and the number you get from those people. So I recommend, and please feel free to throw in, but I would recommend marketing books for people like Al Reese, R-I-E-S.
Okay.
Don't necessarily think, as a matter of fact, the agents that go through, I do some teaching and coaching, et cetera, and I don't include real estate books in any of my programs. We read books that are outside of real estate, and we bring the methodology into real estate. Some of the best things that I've ever done in my business came from Ford or Nike or somebody like that, because guess what? Marketing works. Coca-Cola does it on a different scale than I do. I do it in a very small world, but guess what? The methods and strategies still work very, very well. And with that small town that you're in and that small market that you're in, if you market professionally and aggressively, you're going to get to that 50 or 60 transactions faster than if you do it the old real estate way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
I don't know if that was helpful. I hope it was.
Yeah, I'd like
Very
to.
Helpful. Yeah, thank you.
I've out of all the books I've read in marketing, there's one that's kind of encapsulates everything in a single book. It's absolutely the very best. I have the book on audio, and I can't tell you how many times I've listened to it. But it's called Monopolize Your Marketplace by Rich Harshaw, Harshaw, I believe. Monopolize Your Marketplace. But it is the best book in understanding marketing, copywriting, headlines, and the entire process of what I call the marketing equation, or actually what they call the marketing equation. If any of you guys have been through any of our demos where we share what we do with Agent Dominator, you'll see what we talk about, outside perception versus inside reality, comes straight from that book. Okay.
And I'll second that. That is a fabulous textbook for marketing.
Yes, and if you will read that and apply it, then you'll start to really understand what Stuart's been talking about when he says when you understand marketing, then you can start to pursue most any niche you want, and you can become successful there. So let me just encourage you to get that, monopolize your marketplace. I think it's still in print. If it's not, you can probably find a used copy somewhere.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you can find a used copy on Amazon. And another one I would recommend is, and again, this isn't real estate related, but the principles there, it's a book called Hug Your Customers, where, everyone goes around saying, well, what closing gift do you recommend? Well, if you read Hug Your Customers, you'll understand the principles behind true customer loyalty and keeping those customers raving fans of yours. It's outside the real estate industry. It's a retail industry book, but you bring their principles into real estate. It's fantastic.
You're listening to the Get Sellers Calling You podcast. If you want more listings from past clients in Sphere of Influence, from geographic farming, and even from commercial investment properties, check out our marketing service named Agent Dominator. We guarantee closed sales or give your money back. Learn more at GetSellersCallingYou.com and select Agent Dominator from the menu. And now, back to the podcast.
All right, that's good. Any other questions out there? Press *6 if you're not unmuted yourself already, and just announce yourself.
Hi, I'm Eva from California, and Thank you for taking the time out today. Hey, I was curious, what is successful in your marketing plan? What avenues do you use? Are you using only print media? Are you using social media? Where do you focus your time in?
Very good question. We have so many options nowadays, and I would really encourage you to become an extraordinary expert at one and pretty good, if not really good, at others. Okay? So here's my strength, and it's obviously because of my era. As Beatty said, I've been in the real estate for just a little while. As my 25-year-old son says, and I don't know where they got this, but I've always heard out of his mouth, well, you've been doing it a hot minute, hadn't you? So a hot minute means a long time, apparently. So I have been doing it a hot minute, and the way I started was good old-fashioned mail marketing. And so I am, the bulk of my income comes from mail marketing. But it used to come from mail marketing that gave consumers a hard offer. What that means is, call me. Okay? Now, as technology advanced, then my mail marketing turned into soft offers. Go to this 800 number and hear this message. Okay? Now, my soft offers take them to, and I want you to remember this very specifically, landing pages and videos. I do not have a card that goes in the mail that doesn't send them to a landing page and a video. And I'm going to give you one area that Beatty has helping me with in this small farm area. There's 971 people there. And I have one print piece that has gone out there. The video has been viewed the last time I looked at it, the video has been viewed 4,127 times. There's only 971 people in that farm area. And the reason for that, I think you can pretty much guess, is they look at it, oh, okay, that's not bad, and then they get ready to sell, and then they go look at it again, and then they're ready to call an agent, and they look at it again. So it's just one of those things that how are we adapting to what's going on nowadays? So my strength is truly mail marketing. And I've had agents tell me, hey, it doesn't work anymore. And I'm living proof that it does. I actually got a postcard from Google about 4 months ago. So if Google's sending me postcards, I know that postcard marketing still works. But our social media marketing is quite strong as well. Last week, I spent $219 on Facebook ads. And again, marketing works on Facebook like it works in postcards. The same methods, the same strategies, the same principles. Typical real estate agent marketing is not as effective, okay? And I'll be happy to cover a couple of those things with you. But I spent $219 on Facebook ads in the last 2 weeks. I put most of mine are in 2-week increments, and I created 96 leads with phone numbers, emails, and names. Okay. Now, I know agents that don't do the phone numbers, and they'll get a lot more leads than I do, but I get phone numbers, emails, and names. And 1 out of 5 phone numbers is fake. So nearly 100 leads means I got nearly 80 good phone numbers. And a higher percentage of email addresses, because even if they don't want to leave you a good phone number, they'll leave you a good email. So Facebook marketing is very inexpensive, but the actual commission that you generate is not that much greater with Facebook than it is with postcards. It's just an area where I'm going to find somebody that I might not have gotten from the postcards. Or, if you've heard the term by various touches, if they get my postcard and then they see a video of me giving up on the market in my area, and then they see a new listing on Facebook, on a Facebook ad, now they're thinking, well, this guy really works this area. This guy really knows his stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
Nobody said yes, it makes sense.
Really
All right.
point.
All right. Yeah. But again, I would reiterate the marketing aspect of that. My Facebook ads and my online ads get a much higher conversion than most agents because they produce a quality lead at a much higher level than most ads do. So anyway, you were asking a question. I apologize. Go ahead.
No worries. On your Facebook ads, what are you advertising? What are you giving in there that intrigues a person to click through?
Very good question. 3 things. Okay. One is a list of houses. Now, they can go to Zillow, they can go to Realtor.com, they can go anywhere they want. But if you show them a list of houses, by list I don't mean, hey, click in here, I'm going to mail you a list, or we're going to send you a PDF or something like that. When they click through, they go straight to a page that shows them those, and they're updated in real time. It's not a static list. It's a page with the criteria. So I'll give an example. I work, as I mentioned earlier, the small acreage market. I call it 1 acre plus. So I got, let's see, what's 29 and 28? 67 leads from an ad that said, if you want a massive backyard for less than $500,000, here it is. So list of houses. I call it my See Houses ad. See all houses with massive backyards, and that's an acre or more, because most people don't know what an acre is. But a lot of people want a huge backyard, right? So another one that I ran is if you want a home with more than 2 acres, because a lot of people who are looking at acreage, an acre isn't quite enough. They want to do something that you can't do on an acre. Most of the acre subdivisions are restricted. You can't put a workshop, things like that. So when I say more than 2 acres, that hits a hot button with these people who want to park their RV on it or put a workshop on it. So that one gets a lot of leads. So it's what I call my See Houses ads. See all the homes on 2 or more acres. See all homes on with massive backyards priced under $500. See every house on an acre or more with a swimming pool. And then it takes them directly to a page that is updated live with that. And people are, if they want to see that and that is pertinent to them, they're a much better lead when it comes right down to putting in their information to see it. Okay, and the second type of ad is really what I call video views. Okay, and video views are nothing more than me doing a video. It might be, hey, here's one of the best values on the market. It might be, here's what happened. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow I'll be putting one out that says, here's what happened in the first quarter of 2020 compared to 2019. And I'm going to really separate out what happened in January and February and what happened in March, because I saw a very big difference in March than I did. In January and February, we thought this was going to be the best year we'd seen ever since, and forever. It was going to be incredible. And then the third type is not really the best lead, but I put it out there so those people who are seeing the videos, who are seeing the See Houses ads and things like that, see that I'm doing business. So new listings, and I run them for a shorter time. Put a new listing up, and when I sell a listing, I tell a little story behind the listing, just like the postcards do. So listed and sold ads, See Houses ads, and video ads. Did that help?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome.
Stuart, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Bob Burns in Naples, Florida. How are you?
Oh, doing well. Thank you, sir.
Good. Probably only 4% of the agents in America could meet the National Association's definition of a business base, which is what we're all trying to build, is a reliable, sufficient base of people that are referring us and whatever, which means the other 96% of the agents are working the stranger market, whether that's for sale by owners or expireds, open houses, first time buyer kind of thing. But
yes,
you had shared with me your strategy, and I don't know if you have time to go into it today, on expired listings, which was the most amazing that I've heard in 50 years, and I've raised 9 children as a commissionable salesman in this business. So do you have time to share your...
Yeah, I can give you a quick summary if you like. Beatty, how are we doing on time?
Let's see. We've got about 15 minutes. So,
okay.
Let's do a quick summary on that.
All right. This is typically an hour presentation. I'll do it in 5 minutes. How's that? No, I'm awfully glad to meet somebody who's been in the business longer than me. That doesn't happen very often. Congratulations to you. So what you're probably referring to is I believe very firmly that there's no better business you can have than past clients and customers because of the trust and the referrals and all that. But I also believe that you're leaving money on the table if you don't market to strangers, if you don't market to the cold market as well. And if marketing is something you're aware of and understand, you're going to have a much higher level of success. When people who I've never dealt with call me to do business, because of marketing, it's not as good as a past client, but it's really reaching that. Okay, so a lot of people have misperceptions about expireds and buy owners. I'm just going to focus on expireds right now. I don't work expireds the way a lot of agents do. Now, I used to. Quite sincerely, back in the 90s, I'd put on a headset and I'd cold call, and I'd call up and down streets and I'd call expireds, and I'd do that 2 to 4 hours a day. But once I learned marketing, I never did that again. I've never had to do that again. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. That just means it's really hard work. So from an expired perspective, here's why I like expireds. With a home that's come off the market, it's perfectly legitimate, perfectly legal, perfectly moral. They no longer have a relationship with a real estate agent. So I'm free to send them some information so that they can see that there are options if they decide to sell their house again. Now, I don't call them the first day. If all those 27, 30, 40 agents who call them the first day their house expires, if they want to battle it out for an appointment and get the listing, that's fine. Most of the people I list whose homes have expired list with me 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months, a year, even 2 or 3 years later. And here's why I like expireds. It's a much more dollar productive set of people. I get 3.7 times as much response from my expired database. Now, for years it was 3.1. Now it's 3.7. 3.7, nearly 4 times as. So what I'm saying is that if I take a regular database like a farm area or a mailing area and keep blanking it and getting calls, my expireds, the same number of expireds, the same amount of dollars spent is going to make me nearly 4 times as much money. So if I've got a group of 1,000 people and then I have a group of 1,000 expireds, I'm going to make 3 to 4 times as much money spending the exact same dollars on my marketing. I kind of like those odds, okay? So when somebody's home expires, we send them some information, and then we continue to send them information about how we do business. Go look at this video online. Here's why you should look at this video online. This video online is something you should see because we keep sending them to see, and that's one of the reasons that our videos are seen so often, is because they are pertinent and informative to how we do business. So those expireds who list with me, most of the time I'm the only one that's going over to talk to them, versus if I was one of those who was cold calling them and trying to close them for an appointment the first day or two they expired, I'd be competing with 3, 4, 5, 6 agents. Anyway, that's kind of a summary. Better dollar productive and consistent long-term marketing. My record is I had somebody call me that had expired 13 years ago. And if you hadn't been in the business 13 years, you can look forward to that. But that's my record. They had kept my mailings, and they knew that if they ever listed their home again, they would call me. Now, here's one of the best databases you can go get. Go back in your market, the area that you work, for 3, 4, 5 years. Download all the listings that expired during that time. Now download all the listings that have sold, that are pending, or that are active. And take the two databases and do what Excel calls dedupe. So we take out the duplicates. And the expireds from 3, 4, from last week, last month, a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, who have never relisted their home are a great database for you to start marketing to. As a matter of fact, you'll have 3 times as much business from those people as you will a similar group. And let me give you a stat real quick. This one's pretty astounding. In an area that I work, 1 acre plus homes, there are about 360 houses that have expired in that time frame that I'm talking about. Okay. Now I market to a group beyond that of nearly 6,000. Okay. And I want you to grasp these numbers. The expireds from those 360, I list as many houses from there as I do the other 6,000. Which do you think cost me less money?
I love it.
Now, here's why that is. First of all, I'm an expert in the 1 acre plus market, so I have a higher result from that anyway. Now you take the expireds in a market where I'm perceived as an expert, and the response absolutely skyrockets. So if you just think about, all right, let's be very greedy with and very careful about our marketing dollar. And if our marketing dollar can go farther, then we can spend less money and make more money. And that's how, when we started this conversation, I shared with you that I kept decreasing the number of sales I was making and increasing my income, because my overhead is far less marketing to groups with higher response rates. Does that make sense, you guys? Am I on track with that, baby?
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
Thank you for asking that, by the way. I appreciate that. Now, did we meet in Florida?
What was the question?
Did we meet in Florida? You had said that I had shared that with you.
Oh, yes. In Orlando at the Edge.
In Orlando. You were at the Orlando event? Okay.
Yeah. And it was, just something that while you're in the rat race, you don't look behind the door and see that there was a better way. And obviously,
yeah.
But it,
I understand.
work, and so many that are the reason for the turnover in our business. If you don't have that big business base that will support the referral part of your business, where we know 74% of an agent's business comes from people they know, like, and trust. But if you don't have that base, you're forced to go to the stranger market. And when you get there, if you work these intelligent things that you've worked out, it will save some people's ability to go ahead with their career in real estate. So thanks,
yes, sir,
for sharing that.
Totally agree. Oh, you bet. Thank you for speaking up.
Well, this has been great. Let's take one final question before we wrap up the call. Is there anyone who has the final question?
Anne-Marie Bruno from New Jersey.
Go ahead, Dan-Marie.
Just a question on landing pages and videos. Are you hiring do you hire a company or do you have someone on your staff that's doing this for you?
Sorry for laughing, Stuart.
That's a great question. Well, I'll tell you why Betty's laughing in a second. You know where West Deptford, New Jersey is?
Not exactly.
No? Okay. Well, one of my favorite people in the world, one of my programmers is in West Deptford, New Jersey. At least that's where I send his check. But I've known him for many, many years, and he's a great guy. I only know one person from New Jersey. He's an awesome person, so can't be too bad a stay, right? Anyway, that is a very good question. Here's what I do, and I can only tell you what I do. Everybody is different, but I like to know exactly how things are done, and that way I can better manage people that I hire to do things for me. Some things I don't ever pass on, though. And one of the things I don't ever pass on are my videos. The landing pages there are programs out there that are quite simple to use nowadays, very easy to use, very easy to create a landing page. Now, let me just give everyone the definition of a landing page. And I know some of you are going, oh, gosh, we know what that is. But for those of you who might not be familiar, a landing page is simply a one-page website. And the reason for that is if you've got one page, people go to it, there's no place for them to be distracted or go away, okay? So if you've ever seen really good online network marketers, they use what they call funnels. They don't use websites anymore. They haven't for a long time. The crux of this is very straightforward. Seth Godin, who's one of the first internet gurus that came along, he was one of the bigwigs in Yahoo, said that the consumer has to see their banana. And where he got that is that intelligent animals, anyone who's ever trained animals, would acknowledge that they perform better if they see their reward. And Seth Godin says people are the same way. So if I market something like the number one most powerful secret you have to know before you ever list your home on acreage. Now, if I send them to my website and they go just to a website that has all my stuff on it, and there's a link on there or a header, or it's part of the menu, that's not going to be nearly as effective as if they go to that URL, and as soon as a page pops up, the top says, "Here's the number one most powerful secret you have to know before you ever list your home on acreage." So they saw the banana. They went there for a reason. They saw a Facebook ad. They saw a postcard. Whatever the case is, Instagram, it doesn't matter. When they land on that landing page, they have to see their reward. So there are several different programs, and Beatty, you might want to throw a few of them out. I use two primarily. One is called Unbounce, just like it sounds, bounce a ball, put UN in front of it, Unbounce. And the other one is ClientCreator.com. So I use those primarily to create my landing pages. And then the video is most of these programs, and I think there's actually some easier than those. But most of the videos are very straightforward nowadays. There are free programs for everything. If you've got a PC, you probably have Windows Movie Maker. If you've got a Mac, you have their version of making videos. There's program online called Loom, Loom, Loom. And there's quite a few of them. So what I do is I've got different kinds of videos that I make. I'm not even the center of attention on most of them. Most of them is just me doing a voice in explaining the information. But here's the thing. It's been 7 years now. I think either 6 or 7 years. I had 0 videos online. None. The first couple videos I did, Anne-Marie, were so cheesy, they were absolutely embarrassing. But the first one is always the hardest. And I don't care what you're doing, the first one is always the hardest. When I ran my first Facebook ad, you know how long it took me to do that? Because I didn't want to look dumb. I didn't want to do something wrong. But the first one's always the hardest. I now have, I think I've crossed 1,200, might even be 1,300, because I consistently put them out, okay? And the videos are, here are the statistics in the area, or here's a new home that we put on the market. Here's one we just sold. We sold it in 4 days and it had been listed with another agent for a year. And here's why that happened. But here's some statistics you're never going to hear from anybody else. I mean, the videos, they're as unlimited as your creativity. And my videos are anywhere from 30 seconds to 12 to 14 minutes. And a lot of people, just like my pre-listing package, which is 52 pages, agents always say, nobody will ever read all that. Well, guess what? Consumers will if it's pertinent. My videos that are 11 or 12 minutes, if they're pertinent, people will watch them. But most of them are in the 90-second range to 3-minute range. Okay? So if I can get someone, because of a compelling reason, to go to a video, they're going to learn a lot more about me, especially if my picture's on there, or if it's me, you know, down in the corner talking and explaining stuff. They just get a better feel of who you are. One of my agents hates being on video, can't stand it. I finally talked her into it, and she's doing more business than she's ever done before. Because if people are missing out getting to know who you are and understanding a little bit more about you and what kind of person you are, they can't get a feel for that on an ad or a picture or a business card or a postcard. They just can't. So they can learn more about you, and some are going to make wrong decisions about who you are. Some are going to like who you are. And it's just a very powerful medium that I decided, I certainly wasn't early by any means, but I decided, 6 or 7 years ago I had to take advantage of it. And it's just a very, very effective way to meet people and a very effective way to communicate your message to people. Does that answer your question, Emily? I tend to ramble, and I apologize for that.
Oh, it does. And I'm assuming that when you post these on Facebook, you're boosting them?
There's a very good question, Anne-Marie. You are on top of things. I don't boost very many posts, and the reason I don't is because I get better results by running ads than boosting posts.
Okay.
So you can boost posts, and you will have more people see your post when you boost it. But I've started spending a while back, started spending the same amount of time and effort running ads instead of boosting posts. You can do both. There's no reason not to boost posts. I'd rather just spend my dollar on ads because for me, it seems to have a little bit more impact.
Yes, thank you very much for answering my question.
You're very welcome.
And this has been great. I wanted to share what my chuckle was because I still think it's kind of funny. So often, everyone believes that you have to do this amazing professional job, have someone, choreograph your video, put music in the background, and make it look professional because you're a real estate agent and you want it to be professional. But I think one of the keys I've seen with Stuart, and I definitely have experienced this over the years to a degree, is there's a level of authenticity that people want to know who you are. And if the video is Stuart talking then it's very real. It's exactly who Stuart is. And people get this real comfort level of Stuart because this is Stuart. It may just be his voice. I remember watching one of your videos. This was a few years back, Stuart. You were walking someone through a home, and there was just a slideshow video, and you're just the voiceover describing it. But just the way you described everything, such as the, custom inlaid marble foyer with a 1/4-inch marble, and it comes from Italy, and you're just describing it, it made me want to buy the house. But as you're describing it, I'm getting to know who you are because I'm hearing your voice. Sometimes I see you, and I get to know who you are, and there's just this great level of authenticity, and with that authenticity comes realism and believability, and therefore trustability. And so as you're out there doing these videos, let me just encourage you, be yourself. Don't try to be too professional. Be professional enough, but that's why I was chuckling because, everyone's probably thinking, Stuart's got the slickest ads and the slickest videos and sends them out for post-production, and that's not it.
and Beatty's calling me out and telling you guys that they weren't just cheesy when I started.
No, they're just wonderful.
No, but they are. It's I enjoy doing it, so that's why I continue to do it. And feel free to, you guys go to. I'll just give you one of my sites. It's the number 1, and then everything else is spelled out. 1acreplus.com. And if you go around on that site, you can see lots and lots of different videos from different things that will kind of give you an idea of how and why we do the videos that we do. And feel free to copy anything on there. Call me, ask me questions. My contact information is on there. No worries there.
In wrapping up, I'd like to just summarize one thing that we started with, and I want to make a comment because it's been really impressive. I want to make a correlated comment. So what we started with is we are in a crisis or we're in an opportunity. It depends on how you look at it. And every time Stuart has come into these type of environments, he's entered it making more money, and he exited it making even more money. And the reason is he continues to market for listings. When listings slow down, you just build up your listing inventory so you continue making enough sales to cover everything you need. And as you're marketing for listings, everyone else is panicking and they're pulling back on their marketing budget. So it means your marketing is easier and more effective in building your listing inventory that you need so you continue your lifestyle. And then exiting, you got this great big pipeline that empties out really quickly. And I want to share just another benefit of that. I was talking to he's the number 1 suburban agent here in Vestavia, where I live, part of Birmingham. His name is Mike. And my understanding is going into the 2008 recession, he was just a typical agent. Coming out of the 2008 recession, he was the number 1 agent in our suburban city and has maintained that position year over year, except for maybe 1 year where he just barely lost it to someone else. And I hope this never gets to him. He's a great agent, but I would not put him near the caliber of someone like a Stuart. What happened is he got there and he grabbed the market share, and now he's got a name and a brand that everyone knows and recognizes, and it drives his business even to this day. And this is the opportunity. He did not stop when everyone else did, and he came out on top and has maintained it. And I think that's the message I really want to strike home for all you guys today. Keep your marketing budget up, whatever it takes, but drive it on listings, okay? And stay focused and deliberate, and don't panic, because this too shall pass. So with that,
Beatty,
Stuart, go ahead.
One comment.
Okay.
I want to thank you for exposing Stuart to your entire network. You absolutely gave him the best of the best.
Thank you. You know, and so I'd like to springboard one more comment with that. Why am I doing this? I'm a Christian, I have no fear of what's going on. The Lord has promised He's going to take care of us and is always taking care of us. And I've seen Him do the same with Stuart and his family. There's a lot of fear.
Amen.
There's a lot of fear because people have no foundation where to turn. And I just want you to know that, number one, there's a great big God who loves you and is going to take care of you. And if you follow Him, He will lead you down the right path and He will take care of you if you trust Him. But this is not a time to fear because of what your eyes see. This is a time to trust the Lord and say, I'm going to follow you and I'm going to follow what Stuart is doing. I just wanted to be able to give back and share in just a simple way from our heart. How do you make it through crisis? And because if you can make it through, then you can pay your bills, you can support your family, and hopefully if you are a follower of the Lord, then you can give praise and glory to Him as well. So really, Stuart, I want to thank you for sharing of your time because hopefully you've shared a lot of insight and just a lot of encouragement to people.
Well, I hope it was helpful, and I just want to second everything you said. Thank you.
All right. Well, y'all have a very blessed day. Please take this to heart and go out and do it. And y'all be blessed. Thanks so much.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe to it so you never miss another episode. Also, if you want an easy way to grow your business, check out Agent Dominator. We guarantee listings and sales from past clients in sphere of influence, geographic farming, and commercial investment properties. If you don't get the sales we promise, we'll give your money back. Learn more on our website at getsellerscallingyou.com and select Agent Dominator from the menu. Thanks for listening to the Get Sellers Calling You podcast, and have a great day.